with Ebony Morris. Ebony is a licensed clinical psychologist, real estate investor, and owner of MEK Homes, who helps people build wealth from the inside out. And through her work in real estate and her podcast, Dr. Flip and Dip, she teaches others how to flip both properties and mindsets with clarity, confidence, and emotional intelligence. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Ebony.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. I am excited to be here, and I look forward to answering your questions. I'm excited.
Yeah, so you definitely can tell you're a very enthusiastic person. And so just chatting offline, it's definitely been a pleasure to be able to hold a conversation with you and get to know you a little bit better. And also hear that we've got a lot in common. You're currently still working. You still have a day job, just as I do as well. And much of the listeners to this podcast, either they have W-2 or either a business, and they're building their real estate portfolios on the side. And so it's definitely always good to be able to hold a conversation with another person that is going through some of the similar struggles that each and every one of us are going through. And so I'm definitely intrigued to learn a little bit more on how you've been able to accomplish that and how you've been able to execute your business and have a high level of success in both career and also within your real estate portfolio. But before we get into that portion of the show, if you could share just a little bit more about yourself and also how you got started in real estate, that'd be great.
Awesome. Yes. So I am from Michigan, born in Michigan to some amazing parents. Okay. I cannot come on the show and not talk about my mom and my daddy because they have supported me since I was a child. They always listened to my ridiculous ideas, right? But they gave me the encouragement to think outside of the box. And so with that, I think it has helped me approach any of my goals, any of my visions with confidence and with support. And so I still have them in my life. They're actually out here living in Arizona. So they continue to support me. Okay. So that's number one. So from Michigan, I went to Hampton University and I majored in psychology. So I went to the real HU. Okay. Some people may get that. Some people may not. But I majored in psychology. And you know what, Mr. Lindsay? I majored in psychology at a time when psychology was not attractive. Okay. It was deemed as a social science, as a weak social science as that. And the question was always, why? Or, what are you going to do with that? And the common response was always, I want to help people. Okay. And so I had amazing mentors. I had amazing people who began to change my mindset and let me know that if you're going to make it, okay, in this field, number one, you have to get your terminal degree. So that's your doctorate. And number two, you're going to have to begin to learn how to add value. Okay. And market yourself. You think you're valuable. Your parents think you're valuable. But when you enter this world, you're going to have to learn how to do that.
Okay, great. And so first off, hats off to you for the doctorate and becoming a doctor. And to me, anyone that goes to a PhD level, you guys are to be greatly appreciated because that takes a lot of diligence to be able to complete that much schooling. And I know you mentioned that some people look down on that field. I think it does have its place in society to be able to help people and assist people as they work through different type of illnesses and mental challenges as they go through and navigate life. So hats off to you for that. And so how did you venture into real estate from the psychology field? How did that come about?
Yes. Okay. So great question. I missed that part, right? So my father owned his first duplex when he was 21 years old. So as a child, he owned a few other properties. And I remember, I think I was like 13 or 14. And of course he was there, but I was insisting in his interviewing of one of the tenants. And, I don't remember all that I said. I mean, I'm sure I had a list of questions he gave me, but I remember that experience. And we were interviewing another tenant because I remember that he had to pretty much deconstruct and restruct the entire home because it needed some work. And so I just thought that was interesting. Okay. Again, I still go off to school and I'm a psych, but I remember that experience. So when I decided to get into real estate, my first person, I went to was my dad. And he told me his experiences, his pros and cons. But he also said, hey, if you're interested, go ahead and do it. I also spoke with a wealth advisor. And so, I believe in knowing your 20-year plan or your 30-year plan. So when we think about retirement, when we think about when we get a little older and we may not want to work as much, how are we going to have that passive income? How are we going to set ourselves up for the future? So after speaking to one of my wealth advisors, we came up with a plan and we looked at, okay, if you had this amount of money coming in monthly, then we can set this aside and this can be a part of the bigger plan of your portfolio. So I said, okay. But then I kept purchasing homes. So I said, okay, well, if I'm going to keep buying homes, then I need to think about this as a business. And so created the LLC and I transferred the homes from my name into my company's name. So I did deed transfers and, of course, consulted with lawyers to make sure everything is done appropriately. But that's how I really got started. It was me just wanting to create something for myself, for my family, for the future. But I see the impact. And I have met people and I see that it's a pretty cool industry. And I like the skill set that I already have. And I've taken it and just transitioned it into the field of real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I love the fact that you were proactive. Instead of just depending on the 401k, in which I'm sure you've accumulated with some of your employers along the way, you were also looking to help with organizing and securing your own financial future as well. And so with you having family that was involved in real estate, you knew that that was a good path to go down. And so you mentioned that you start picking up properties. You had a conversation with a wealth advisor. You started picking up properties. What market were you buying these properties within?
So I started buying my homes in Michigan. So I know the area. So Detroit metropolitan area. I have a few in the suburbs as well, but I knew that area. So even though I lived in Arizona, I'm like, hey, I still go back, hang out with family and friends. Let's start there because I know the market there. Since there, I've contacted and worked with realtors in Alabama. I have a realtor in Illinois. So I've looked at Southern Illinois properties as well. And of course, I have a realtor out here in Arizona. So I initially started where I was most familiar with. And I would suggest that for anyone. If you haven't quite, if you're a little nervous about whether or not you should start, investing in real estate, if you, have considered the pros and cons, go where you're most familiar with. No one can really challenge your creativity and how you approach the situation if you are very confident in the area. Of course, you're going to reach out, do your own comps, look at what the market is telling you, but it's always better when you start at home, okay? And then you can always branch out because at that point, you're going to have more support and more networks, right, to work within. But yeah, absolutely. I started in Michigan buying and holding. And then as I continued, I wanted to do something different within the industry. And so that's when I started renovating and flipping. And both I love. I look at one as a way to build your portfolio, which is my buying and holding, and then the other as a way to gain capital. So when you renovate and you flip out here in Arizona, our markets are really, it's different. It's up there on the higher end. And so when you have a great team, you have your general contractors, you have just a good team that can do what you need them to do in a short amount of time. And then you can put the house in the market and you can see your return on investment within, 6 months, within 4 months. It becomes addictive. And so you realize that you're able to have that and work both avenues and and meet more people along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that strategy to be able to buy and hold and also do fix and flip. You're you're taking advantage or capitalizing on a long-term wealth vehicle, and then you're also able to generate capital quickly through fix and flips and buy and hold investing. So that's definitely an amazing strategy that you're utilizing there. Hey, if I could, let's chat about the Detroit market. A lot of people, they have some very unpleasant opinions when it comes to the Detroit, Michigan market. You're investing there. You've got some long-term rentals there. What's your perspective, and is it risky, or how do you view it?
So I always come in with a positive mindset. Okay. I don't view it as negative. So I do believe in, just like in anything, if I can get a good deal, oh, I'm going to get a good deal. So when I started purchasing homes, I mean, one of my properties was like 87K. Okay. I already had someone living in there, and the young lady, she was actually on Section 8. So I purchased the property. She's still in the property right now. I work with the case manager. It's a great working relationship, because once you establish those relationships and you decide to buy more property, if they have someone who's in need, then they're going to already have someone for you. So I look at, if I can buy low, okay, have someone already in the property, of course, a good person, right, in the property who's going to take care of what you have already established. And of course, you are going to make sure that things keep working well. And, if you have to paint a few rooms or add a security door, you're going to keep the property looking nice as well. You're going to have a solid home for another, 20 years. And so I think the market is great because you're able to buy low, and you still can have, a solid home. You get more bang for your buck. If I wanted a 4-bedroom, okay, I can get that under 100K as well. My last property that I purchased there was in August of last year, and it was a duplex. So if I'm able to, and I paid like 118 for it, and right now it's 150. Okay, I noticed that. That the market is like 150, but yes, I got a duplex for 118, had both tenants already in the home, and they've already established that they're, good tenants. One been there for 6 years, and the other individual, my upstairs lady, she's been there for 3. And so I've heard the feedback from those who are not from the area. Okay. But if you're from there, if you have family from there, you know that it's not as horrible as people will make it. And again, if you're looking at the numbers, how do we make these numbers work? Okay. And we make it work by buying low and by charging just market rates. Okay. So we're market rates, and we're still having a profit every month. And so it works for me. And if you're able to, the more properties you're able to purchase, that increases your portfolio. So you're now able to leverage that. So if you want to create other avenues of financial support, such as lines of credit, such as, I don't know, even if you want to establish more, credit, so through credit cards, you're able to do that because banks look at that. Financial institutions look at that, and they look at you as a viable individual, someone who's responsible, but you're always able to leverage your assets. So I look at that as a great thing.
There you go. Well, and that's the key, because you're from there. That makes you an expert on that market. And I think that's a really undervalued skill that a lot of people don't take advantage of. And as we're looking at different markets, I know predominantly I look at multifamily. We syndicate quite a bit, and it's all about understanding the market, because a lot of times you can't really fix a market, not really quickly. Now, if you've got endless amounts of cash, you may be able to buy a couple blocks up of homes, but that's just not the fiscally opportunistic way to be able to go about real estate investing. You want to make sure that you do some really great market analysis. And with you already being from that area, you are a great analyzer of that market. You know exactly what it is that you're getting into, and you're able to take advantage of that. So while so many people are running in the opposite direction, you're capitalizing on it, because it's going to be a challenge to find a duplex for $118,000 anywhere in the country right now. And so let me just venture back briefly. And so I'm always trying to provide value for our Moonlight audience and trying to see exactly how other operators navigated busy careers, busy entrepreneurship businesses that they're running full time and buying real estate on the side. So if you could just venture back and allow us to peek in, how did it look for you when you were first getting started and you had a demanding job, you had a skill set that you had to show up to a W-2 employer, but you were still able to buy real estate at the same time. How are you navigating both of those, and what did it take to be able to get the business off the ground?
Oh, that is such a great question. And you know what? My answer to that is just time management. Listen, when we have a goal, we prioritize. Okay. We have our values and we have our goals, and we are going to make sure that both are met. And so when I started purchasing real estate, and I'm working in an environment where, guess what? I couldn't even have my cell phone. There were no cell phones allowed. So that was just an extra obstacle that I'm trying to figure out. So one thing I can say is, by living in Arizona, we are on Mountain Standard Time. And so at one point I started to work at 7 a.m. and like now I work at 6 a.m. But I started at 7 a.m. So by the time if I'm driving, or if I'm getting ready for work, I'm able to call my realtor and say, hey, what's the plan for today? Or if you see this property, really check out the basement, because I was looking at pictures online and I don't know now. I don't know if they had some damage done, but just ask those questions and she'll say, okay. So we had a plan in place. If there was documents I needed to sign, I am speaking with my loan originator and I'm like, hey, those documents will be signed tonight. It may be midnight. Okay, my time, but you will have them in the morning when you wake up. So my team was amazing. My inspector, he was awesome as well. But it's all about balance and really having your values, but you're going to fit everybody in when you can fit them in.
Yeah, I love that. And so that's time management 101. And for us busy professionals that have day jobs or either a full-time business, and we're building our real estate portfolios on the side, you're going to have to conquer that time management piece. And I think sometimes we can get so much tunnel vision that we forget to live. And, when you have smaller children like that, you have to put the time in and make sure that you're not going to have these when you get older. And so you can accumulate a lot of wealth or a lot of possessions and property, but if you didn't really spend much time with your family and loved ones and do the stuff that's even more important than wealth or possessions, I don't know if you necessarily won. As a matter of fact, you didn't win. In my book, you did not win. And so it's just not worth it for me. Some other people will make that sacrifice, but me, I choose to put the more important things as the top priority within my life. And, God, family, friends, those are the things that you're just not going to get a second shot at. And you want to make sure that you take advantage of those things. So, Ebony, we definitely appreciate you allowing us to peek inside how you were able to get things off the ground. We're gonna turn the page. We got a portion of the show that we like to call our Moonlight Coaching Round. And typically what we do is ask our guests a few questions. If you can hold your response between 1 to 2 minutes per question, that'd be great.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the first question that I have for you is, what do you think every new real estate investor should know before investing in real estate?
Oh, perfect. They should know their goals. So I need people. okay, to write down. Give me 3 goals. And I mean to write it out too. And give me a time frame of when you would like to see this goal mature. Okay. And along with that, I need to know your risk management, risk solution, kind of just overview of how you will handle any kind of surprises.
Yeah. Yeah. You always want to know exactly where things are. And then setting goals. You have to have something to aim for. That way you can know exactly where you are. Because if you're just going and there's no deadline or anything that you're pursuing, you're kind of just spinning your wheels and you don't really even know it. And so I think that's a great suggestion. The next question I have for you is, knowing what you know now, what kind of advice would you give a person attempting to get where you are within your real estate journey about balancing business and life?
Oh, that is very good. So knowing what I know now. So again, everything is a balance. And I would say you can do it. Get started in little ways. So yes, we can say, find a really cool book that you can get, really get interested in and get involved in, and you learn from there. So I will say you have to go out and meet people and, begin to earn their trust as they earn yours.
So if a person didn't have any money, what would you recommend for them to do? So reach out to a potential partners, family members, or what would you suggest?
Yes. I mean, you know what? If someone has no money and they have limited time, then I would say definitely think about how you can create more. Okay. Because we need more time in the industry and we need some money. And so if you don't have it, then you have to figure out who has the money. So when you go to certain events and you go to more than one, because again, if people are going to say, hey, I'll partner with you, they have to see what you're doing as well. I'm not necessarily saying you're going to give a PowerPoint. Okay. Sometimes that can happen if you're reaching out to larger crowds. But if it's more of a informal, then you're going to have, information that's going to be attractive to want someone to work with you. So I will say that if it's minimum that you have both time and money, then we're going to think about how we're going to expand that. If we're serious in venturing out into this industry, because it is a lot of, networking and people who know people. And as they form their groups, they form the trust within that. And so they're willing to work with you. So you definitely want to, show up and allow people to get to know who you are by being your amazing, authentic self.
So, Ebony, we're going to turn the page and start wrapping things up. But before we do, if you could share a personal development book or either a business development book that you would recommend for the Moonlight audience.
But a book that I am going to absolutely share is called The Magic. Now, I read this book probably like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. It was written in 2012 by Rhonda Byrne, and it's the same individual who wrote The Secret. And this book talks about gratitude, right? And so it does not mean anything about magic. Okay. It's about gratitude and it's a simple, 2-page chapter book. Okay. But it gives you assignments. Oh yes, you have assignments. And one of the assignments can be, find a photo of someone who you are really grateful for. Right. Or, remember, 3 things that you experienced that you're grateful for. So it makes you rewire, restructure your mindset. And so when you wake up in the morning, every morning you can say thank you. So it's a book about gratitude, about being thankful, and how you will attract more reasons to be thankful in your life. So it's part of manifestation, law of attraction, but it's about being grateful. Grateful of where you are in life and the things that you've acquired, and how because of that you're going to attract more things in your life for you to be grateful for.
Okay, I'll definitely have to add that to the old wish list. But Ebony, we want to thank you for coming on to the show. You've provided us with a wealth of knowledge, allowing us to peek inside of your portfolio, your strategy, and also shine a light on exactly how you've been able to amass a portfolio while being a busy professional. As a matter of fact, a PhD clinical psychologist. And so we definitely appreciate you allowing us to understand and see exactly how you've been able to accomplish all the wonderful things that you've accomplished. Let's say that someone listening to the show decides that they want to reach out to you and connect. What would be the best way for them to be able to do that?
Absolutely. Well, you can go into so I have an Instagram, so that's Dr. Flippendip. So I am on there, but I also have a website. So it's www.mek-homes. So that's MEK-homes, HOMES.com. And there is a form you can fill out and I can connect with you that way.
Okay. Well, Ebony, once again, thanks for coming on to the show. We'll definitely have to have you back soon, and we'll love to have you back on the show again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Lindsay. Thank you for the opportunity, and you're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.